Well, hello from sunny Texas and welcome to the Genesis GV60. This is the brand's first ever dedicated EV. It is also their smallest SUV that they sell. So what is the GV60? Well, nominally in segment it would compete with the Ford Mustang Mach-E, Jaguar I-Pace, or the Volkswagen ID4. However, it's a bit more premium than those, in my opinion. Lawrence Hamilton, who is the executive director for Genesis Canada, says that other competitors are stark, monochromatic, and digital, and they offer this to be more fun, flirtatious, more design-oriented than the competition. Let me walk you through what a Genesis GV60 is. So the basic format of the vehicle is it's obviously a battery electric, and in America, they have a choice of a rear drive or all-wheel drive models. In Canada, we only get it with two motors, one in the front, one in the back. Now there's two different versions you can get. I will open it up on my phone. Pardon me, there's a lot of numbers here. I'll be reading it from my phone. In Canada, we get it two different ways, the Advanced or the Performance being the more expensive of the two. The Advanced is gonna run you $71,000 and the Performance is gonna run you $79,000. One thing about Genesis pricing is that's everything all in. There's no PDI, there's no freight. That is the price, and it's also a fixed pricing model. So you're not gonna go to the dealership and haggle, but that also means the dealer won't mark you up. So 71 to start with the Advanced model, $79,000 for the Performance, which is what we are in right now. Now the base Advanced comes with 314 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque, which gives a 399 kilometer range. Right now we're in the Performance, which has way more power, 429 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque, which of course those larger, more powerful engine in the front is going to drop your range to 378 kilometers of range. The Advance gets a 74 kilowatt front motor and a 160 kilowatt rear motor. The Performance that we are in today gets a 160 kilowatt motor front and rear. However, the Performance model gets a boost button on the steering wheel, which is great. I love that there's a boost button. And what it does is actually a lot. It'll temporarily, for 10 seconds, take that horsepower from 429 all the way to 483, and it'll take the torque from 446 to 516 foot-pounds. I asked Genesis, well, how does it do that? Because in a Tesla, you know, the super crazy modes, they heat the battery for more electricity, and they said they just let the motors have more power from the battery. So I guess it just limits the power all the rest of the time. I'm not an electrical engineer, but anyways, you can press that boost button and get extra, well, electric boost. It's quite fun. So it has a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, and with fast charging, if you can find it, it'll charge from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. However, with much more common AC level 2 charging, you can expect to charge it in 7 hours, 5 minutes. That's like what you would get if you had a charger installed in your home. And if you plug it into a regular wall socket, you're gonna be there almost an entire day. The first thing I do before I set off is I wanna talk about this shifter. One of the problems with an electric car is that you never really know if it's on or not. And the way that Genesis deals with that is that this little ball thing, that's a rotary shifter, turn to drive, reverse, whatever, the entire thing rotates like this when you turn it on and off, so that when the car is off, you cannot select a gear. When the car is on, it rotates, so you can select a gear. It reminds me of that Jaguar thing where it popped up, but in this case, I think it actually has a purpose. But enough, let's put it in drive, and for the sake of fun, let's put it in sport mode, and I'll show you guys what that boost does, because I think it's really something. So, pulling out on the highway here, just outside of Austin, Texas. Now I pressed the boost button, so I got 10 seconds of power starting now. Oh my God. One of the things I love about that boost button is when you press it, you get all the power right now. It comes in just right away. This is the same hit without the boost button. So you see how it meters it in a little more, but when you press that boost button, it goes bam. Pressing the boost button while you're floored, it doesn't have that noticeable an effect, but it is something fun to play with, and you know, it shows that we can have fun with EVs. You can't do that with a gasoline engine. You can't have a turbo button that only, you know, like Mad Max does. So in that respect, I think it's quite fun. Just talking about the performance angle while we're driving it, like all battery electric vehicles, it has a super low center of gravity because that battery pack is down low. It's got a rear bias powertrain, and this thing is deceptively fun to drive. You would not know by looking at it that this is a pretty sporty car, but I have had just a blast on the twisty roads out here. The balance of the car being able to, drive it without shifting and just meter in that electric torque is so satisfying. And then when you really want to go, you press that boost button and you are gone. Genesis has not released 0 to 60 figures for this car, but the butt dyno puts this at around 4 seconds, is what I would say. It's quite fast. But the Genesis GV60 is not all sport. No, we'll turn it into comfort mode, and the car noticeably relaxes. Your throttle inputs are more metered. Also, you can control regen with these paddles. You have 4 selectable ranges from 1 to 4, 4 being the most intense. I drive it around on 3 most often. I find that 4 is honestly a little much, but I'll just let off and show you. It slows down quite a bit if you let off, and I think it's a really well integrated regen system. One cool part is that it automatically configures regen when you're doing adaptive cruise, so it's kind of nice. Now I want to talk about the outside of this car, because for ages I have asked the question, with battery electric vehicles, if you don't have a big bulky engine up front and you don't have to package a drive shaft, why can't the car be shaped differently? And Genesis is finally doing it. They're showing that you can have fun with the design of an EV because there's no engine there to worry about. There's nothing up there to mess with the hood line. And so they've taken a very bold approach of the styling of this vehicle, and I love it. It's very distinct. People look at this car when you drive it because Genesis took so many risks in the styling department. And usually when you have a car with a crazy design that looks really cool, like a Toyota Supra maybe, you go inside and it's just a car. It's a normal car. But Genesis has taken the same risk on the interior, and I love it. Look at these colors, first of all. This is a navy interior with lime green, neon yellow stitching like a running shoe. Who else is doing that? Maybe BMW, but it's showing that you can have fun in and outside of the car. There's also so much openness here. I have the glass roof, which is standard, closed right now because it's Texas, but there's so much light in this car, there's so much space, there's no transmission tunnel. I love the floating console. It really does feel like there's a ton of stretch out room. I feel very comfortable here. The seats are commendable. But more than that, it's the little details. It's the way that the plastics in this car are textured. It's the way that the door handles are kind of spaced out. Look at this mirror control. It's how it's like a little knurled knob inset in the door. It's like, in the best way possible, it's like they had never seen another car when they designed this one. It's such a refreshing and fresh take on interior design. I will say, once you get the performance and you're playing in the $80,000 range, some of these materials are not what I would call an $80,000 quality. There's nothing wrong with them, but $80,000, I kind of expect a lot of the materials. However, the design itself is very premium. And let's talk about stretch out room. They carefully shaped the headliner, so even if you're very tall, you can fit in the back seat, which reclines. It has 3 different backrest angles. It's so clear in this car that Genesis was not out to design a competitive vehicle. They did their own thing. It's its own car, and it's saying it in the same sentence with the ID4 and the I-Pace and Mach-E. It's so different than those. It has a different angle. It's closer to something like a Volvo or an Alfa Romeo, in which it's a design-focused car. In the performance, we have an E limited slip differential and drift mode. That's right, this is a car that you could drift like Ken Block if you so chose. Genesis was a little cagey about what exactly drift mode does, but basically it does cut off power to the front motor, sun power to the rear, and defeats the traction control, so you can hypothetically slide this car around. I have not done so, but it's just so comfortable, even on these 21-inch wheels, which, by the way, again, Genesis taking risks. Look at those wheels. They look like something that would come out of a Doctor Strange movie, like a fractal. I just love that they're really reinventing automotive design and taking so many gambles. Now we need to talk about availability. The car is available for pre-order now, but if you got your name on the list today, you still probably wouldn't see it in your driveway for at least 6 months. Again, because of the worldwide supply issues, it's hard to say when you would get one, but at least we'll say 6 months from now if you put your order in today, which I would, because there's a fair amount of reservations. Genesis already has 1,500 Canadian reservations for this car. I also, for once, need to talk about how I got in this car. I have no key with me today. No key at all. No key, no fob. Because the Genesis has facial recognition to use to lock the doors. There's a little camera on the B-pillar, and if you look at it with your sunglasses off, it will recognize your face and lock or unlock the car, which is super weird. And to start the car, you can use your fingerprint. I press my fingerprint on this little sensor and it will enable the car to be started. So hypothetically, you could drive this car around with no key and no fob using the facial recognition to lock it and the fingerprint to start it. Of course, a typical fob comes with the car. You don't have to use it. And I was a little concerned about the privacy angle on this, but Genesis says despite the fact that this car gets over-the-air updates, that the facial recognition and fingerprint data is stored on the car and not uploaded to the cloud. It is stored on the vehicle. It's interesting. It does work. Not sure it's the answer to a question that anyone was asking. So in that sense, it's a little odd. Because this is a car from the future, it has no USB ports at all. It has 4 different USB-C ports, but if you've got an old USB port, you have nowhere to put it in this car. There is wireless charging, so you shouldn't worry too much if your phone does not have a USB-C cord with it. But it's definitely the way things are going in a car like this that is so tech-focused and so forward-looking. I'm not surprised there's not a USB port. So in summary, Genesis, in my opinion, is doing all the right things, because with battery electric cars, essentially the drivetrain is the same, just different power numbers, but the delivery is all the same, the sound is all the same, and the center of gravity is pretty much all the same. So how do you differentiate yourself as an electric brand? I believe it's through design and driver interface. And these are 2 things that I can just tell Genesis spent so much time on, and I really think this is the way forward for EVs. I can't wait to spend more time in it, but the GV60 is a very promising start. I think Genesis has done a great job, and they've taken some really big chances with this car, and I think they've paid off. For Driving.ca, I'm Clayton Seams. And for more EV first drives and reviews, don't forget to check out our website at Driving.ca.